If I were to tell you that an electric bike exists with a range of 45 miles, 20-inch by 3-inch fat tires, dual shock absorption, a color LCD display, folding capabilities, and more, all for less than $950, would you believe me? Well, if you wouldn't, just like I didn't believe the spec sheet when I saw it for the first time, then you are bound to be impressed by the end of this video, in which I will be unboxing, assembling, testing out, and giving my full unbiased thoughts about the Jasion EB7 e-bike from the perspective of a college student that lives in a small dorm room. Hi, welcome to the channel. If you've never been here before, my name is Carson Miller, and I do want to say up front that Jasion did send me this bike for free to review, but they are not paying me to say anything in this video. All opinions are my own, and they are seeing this video for the very first time alongside you guys, so they have no editorial input. With that said, let's get right into the unboxing and assembly so then we can get into the real meat of the video to see whether or not the bike truly stands up to all of the specs that it claims to have. This thing is massive, but let's get it opened. Where do I start?
Well, while it may seem daunting at first to get started, really the best first step you can take is cutting away all of the zip ties holding the components together for shipping. There's around 30 zip ties to cut away, so it may take you a hot second. After that, I decided to open up the accessories box. Inside of that, you'll get all of the tools you need to assemble the bike, as well as an instruction manual. This box also contains both of the folding pedals, and there's a paper that talks about the extended warranty, and of course beneath that, there's the charger for the bike inside here as well. The charger is quite massive and outputs 54.6 volts at 2 amps. As tempting as it may be to just completely wing it and try to follow the assembly process I'm doing here, if you get this bike yourself, I would definitely recommend checking out the manual that's included because it's quite helpful, and I even referenced it a number of times myself while I was filming this. I would first suggest getting started by putting together the handlebars and folding it up into place. After that, the next easiest thing to do would be putting the pedals on. Each side has a label indicating the thread direction the pedal should go on, making it very difficult to put the wrong one on the wrong side. Next, loosen and remove the bolts from the front forks that keep them from being damaged during shipping. Grab the front tire and place it between your legs while standing in front of the bike, and slowly lower the bike forks onto the front tire, ensuring alignment of both the bolts as well as the disc brake. It should go into place pretty easily, and you'll just have to tighten down the bolts, of course. I removed the remaining foam after that and then put the bike seat post into place. Moving to the rear of bike rack and fender, you'll have to remove the 4 hex screws that are located in the locations which the rack aligns with. Then put the rack into position and simply put the hex screws back into place, tightening them down snugly. For the rear fender, it's a similar story of removing hex screws, placing the screws through the metal wire of the fender, and then tightening the screw back down. You also need to make sure you tighten the screw near the rear suspension on the fender as well. The front fender is also not too bad, removing screws, placing screws through the fender wire, and tightening them back down. Don't make the mistake I did, so before tightening down the middle screw on the front forks, make sure you grab the front headlight and place that through the screw as well as the fender, or else you'll have to go remove the screw and put it back in once you realize that the headlight isn't on. With the light installed, simply plug the wire into the connector at the base of the wires on the bike. The taillight is easily installed as well by removing the nuts from the taillight, placing it into place, and then tightening the nuts back down. You'll definitely want to go and make sure that you cable manage the tail light wire along the bike rack with the included black zip ties. While you're cutting those, you'll also want to make sure that you cut off the slightly hidden zip tie on the chain guard and chain. And then finally, put the rubber stoppers on the exposed front bolts of the tire.
And just like that, about 40 minutes of time and your bike should be assembled. Now, I've never assembled a bike before, so this was an entirely new experience for me. I wouldn't say it was particularly difficult, but it was a little bit daunting to see everything laid out and being like, whoa, what's going on? But it came with all the tools that you needed to assemble it, so all good there. And with that, the last thing to do is really just to take your keys and put them in the ignition. Right down here. It's in an odd place, but I think it's a little bit of a anti-steal mechanism, and you can then power on the bike. And it has a full color LCD screen to display your speed, to display your odometer, your trip, pedal assist level, and more. But I'll get more to that later in the video. Right now, I just want to talk a little bit more about the physical aspect of the bike. It has a adjustable seat that goes from quite low to incredibly high. So if you are a tall person, even for you, this bike should be great. And on top of that, not only is the seat adjustable, but the handlebars are adjustable as well. These go up quite a ways as well. Out of the box, it came with about 75% battery, so it's not fully charged up, and you're definitely going to want to go and make sure to charge it up yourself before you go out and actually ride it. So I'm going to go and take this inside, get it charged up, and let's get to future Carson to talk more about this bike after I've had some time to ride it. All right, so future me now, that unboxing happened nearly 2 months ago now, and I've definitely had a fair share of time to get out and ride this bike. And I certainly have some thoughts about it, but I will save those for a little bit later because first I do want to talk about the functionality of the bike. To start, the bike can support riders up to 300 pounds from 5'2" all the way up to 6'2", but honestly probably taller too, just because both the seat as well as the handlebars can adjust in height. But once you do have that adjusted to your preferred position, to use the bike, just insert the included key to unlock the bike and then turn it on by pressing the power button. And with that same keypad, you can also adjust your pedal assist to the level that you would like. Level 0 is without any assistance at all, and level 5 is the highest level of pedal assistance, which should get you up to around 20 miles per hour without any actual pedaling. For me, I get around to 21 miles an hour. To accelerate from a stop without pedaling, or to simply move without pedaling in the midst of your ride, there is a motorcycle-like twist throttle on the right side of the handlebars, which allows you to coast without actually doing anything. To adjust your throttle response, just use the same pedal assist adjustments on that left side of the handlebar to do so. And just a pro tip, if you want to unlock the top speed of the bike, which is 27 miles per hour, all you need to do is make sure you are pedaling with the bike set to mode 5, which allows you to reach that top speed. Something all bikes need is a horn, and with this bike, it includes an electronic horn that isn't a horn to be ignored. Triggered by pressing the button on the left side of the handlebars, it's actually quite loud, and while it does sound a tad bit ridiculous, it does the job and it does it well in my experience. Something else that I appreciate is the fact that both the headlight as well as the tail light are directly hardwired into the battery, so you'll never have to fear again that your headlights or taillights are going to run out of battery as long as your bike is charged up as well. The hardwired tail light also serves a dual purpose as a brake light as well. That tail light is attached to the cargo rack, as you can see here, which is super great for those of us who are choosing to use the bike for a more utility use. It would be negligent to disregard the LCD display in the center of the handlebars, so moving to that, the display allows you to view information such as your current speed, your current assist level, battery charge, odometer, trip length, trip max speed, and trip average speed. So quite a bit of information. If you ever find yourself needing to charge a phone while on longer rides, there is an included USB-A charger port on the left side of the handlebars, which can certainly come in handy in a pinch because it can charge at 5 volts up to 1 amp, which is a decent amount. Finally, let's talk about the fact that this bike isn't like most, and it folds up. I drive a Kia Soul, which isn't exactly the largest vehicle ever, so I don't exactly have the space to fit a full-sized bike into my trunk. Surprisingly enough though, the EB7 can fit into the back of my 2020 Kia Soul easily, which is something that I've certainly never been able to say about any of the other bikes that I've owned. The fact that the bike folds up also came in incredibly clutch when I got a flat while testing the bike as a result of hitting a sharp angle pothole on a bike path. This caused the inner tube of the rear tire to go and burst, which I don't believe was unexpected given the circumstances, and honestly, any bike hitting a sharp-edged pothole, the one that I did, it would have went and popped those tires as well. With that said though, being 3.5 miles away from my dorm wasn't exactly the most ideal time to have a flat tire, and I wasn't about to go and walk this pretty heavy bike with a deflated tire back to campus. So I decided to hail an Uber, and because the bike can fold, it fit into the back of my Uber driver's car like a breeze, which was just great. The foldability is perfect for college students or those living in smaller spaces like me, just because every inch of space, as those people would know, is precious. And generally, full-size bikes take up a lot of space and probably couldn't fit in a size room like I have. But with the bike folded, it fits into my room like a breeze, and I just simply couldn't do it if I had a regular bike that didn't fold. One final note on the folding aspect of the bike is that because of this design, the 48 volt 10 amp hour battery is fully removable. All you have to do is simply insert the key into the regular slot, press the key into the slot further than you normally would, and rotate counterclockwise. Once you've done that, the pin on the side of the battery will retract and you'll be able to remove it, and you can charge the battery outside of the bike, which is pretty nice. I think this is intriguing because if the battery ever goes bad in the future, then it's reasonable to assume you could just replace the battery rather than replace the entire bike. Whether or not Jasion will honor this is something to see though, as they don't currently sell the batteries separately. And while it doesn't have anything to do with the functionality of the bike, if you were curious about that flat tire incident, honestly, I was quite nervous on the difficulty of replacing this inner tube in the back tire, just given the fact that the motor is back here. You've got wires for the power of that motor, the bike chain, as well as the disc brake. However, I was able to get the inner tube replaced by myself in only a matter of 20 minutes with no prior experience, a $10 inner tube replacement, and $15 in Harbor Freight tools. So if you ever happen to run into an incident yourself where you have to go and replace the rear inner tube, which is very likely owning a bike, then it's really not a big deal and it's a lot easier than you may think. So yeah, now that I've spent 5 minutes just talking about the functionality of this bike and other things, that doesn't exactly matter unless the bike actually stacks up to the claims that it says that it will. And on that note, I must say that I have been incredibly impressed with how well this bike does stack up to that challenge and how comfortable it is to ride. It's not necessarily built to be an off-road rider, but it does work well off-road and on the road with the fat tires that it has. The speed of the bike is amazing for this price range, and the torque of the motor for only being a 500 watt motor is absolutely insane and is perfect if you're needing to go quickly around someone or whenever you want to go and just quickly accelerate. With the power that it has, it is a lot of fun going from a full stop to full speed, just like when, you know, there's a crosswalk and the change of the signal has just happened and you can shoot across the walkway. On the opposite end of that though, you do want to slow down at times, duh. And I must say that the dual disc brakes on the bike are great and lead for a very safe feeling ride experience. Shifting is also super great and works well with the included shifter. While the range estimate may be a little bit generous, with real world use in my experience only getting around 35 miles before needing a recharge, the range at 35 miles is still extremely good. And if you're really worried about the range, you can always bring that charger with you to charge wherever you are. The bike charges from 0 all the way up to 100 in only 4.5 hours, so in my opinion, that's not really bad considering how large the battery is. With all that aside though, for $950, nothing could be perfect though, right? Unfortunately, yeah, nothing could be perfect. But I must say that for this price, this bike offers so much that it completely blew my expectations out of the water. But I must let you know about a couple of the downsides of the bike. So first, although the included seat is larger than most seats and it's probably aimed towards being a longer distance riding seat, it's just unfortunately not that comfortable. Now, this may just be a result of me not being a frequent bike rider at this point, so my butt just isn't used to the seat of a bike, but I just don't think that this seat is one that is very comfortable, and I definitely long-term plan to go and replace it with something else that is a little bit more cushy. Secondly, while I love that this bike does have that twist throttle, I don't like the way in which it was implemented. It is even more odd when you go and look at older reviews for the version 1 of this bike, because I feel that they went and took away some functionalities of the bike in this version 2. And what I mean is that this version doesn't allow you to go and use the throttle to accelerate all the way to the pedal assist level 5 unless that level is what you are set to on your current speed. So just imagine the fact that maybe you're at speed level 3 and that's just what you typically like pedaling at, but you want to go and pass around someone. In order to do that, you have to go and literally set that pedal assist level to 5 and then use the throttle in order to go and amp up your speed. So it's just not very convenient, and I wish that they would go and allow you to use that throttle to get up to 5 no matter what pedal assist level you are in, because that's the functionality that used to exist on the version 1 of this bike, so I don't know why they decided to go and take that away. Thirdly, the placement of the key slot underneath is very awkward and difficult to find, and the battery charging hole is placed on the wrong side. Like, come on, Jasion, you weren't thinking that one out. Plugging in the bike while it is folded is quite the chore, and it would be super easy for them to just flip the charging port to the other side. As for the key slot, I wish that it was on top of the battery rather than on the bottom, but I'm not exactly sure how that would affect waterproofing, so maybe that's why they chose to do it on the bottom. But moving on to my fourth complaint, why is the battery percentage not a battery percentage? There is, even when you turn on the display, it shows the battery charge as well as a percentage, but Jasion just chose to not put that in the firmware. Why? 4 dashes is never helpful in any product with the battery charge level. They should have implemented the charge percentage next to that battery as well. That would be very helpful in my opinion. And then finally, or fifth, when folding the bike and unfolding the bike, there are times where I'm just worried that the brake line that goes through the center there is gonna go and like get damaged, because when you're going and unfolding the bike back out, it sometimes is scrunched up and just doesn't fold well. However, I've had no issues with the brakes at this point, even though I fold the bike every single time that I use it, and I've used it for the last 2 months, but it is something of concern long term for me. But closing off, this bike has honestly been a blast to ride, and so even with all the negatives that I've just listed, all things considered, at this price point, this e-bike is without a doubt an absolute steal, hands down, with all that it has to offer. It genuinely brought back a joy for me that I haven't had in a long time, since I started basically religiously riding electric longboards about half a decade ago. So if you're someone who is looking around for a great e-bike that rides smoothly on and off the road while not breaking the bank, then this is certainly the bike that you should consider going with. And with that said, that is pretty much it for this video. If you'd like to pick up the Jasion EB7 or check out any of their other products, make sure to use the link down in the description below, or use the coupon code Carson when checking out to save 3% off of your total order while also supporting me at the same time. If you liked this video, make sure to let me know by clicking that thumbs up button down below, as well as subscribing for future videos like this from me in the future. And also let me know what you thought about this bike by leaving a comment down below. But on that note, that is it for this one. I will see you in the next video. Peace.